What's up everybody, this is Master Ian Gamer, and we just got another Overwatch 2 dev update from Overwatch game director Aaron Keller, outlining Season 5, and some of the hero balance changes we're going to be seeing going into it. From Lifeweaver buffs to Junker Queen nerfs, and some pretty intriguing crowd control changes for Cassidy and Mei. There's some juicy details to talk about here, so let's jump right on in. The update first and foremost just sort of reflects on Season 4, talking about the different win rates for some of the changed heroes. Not too much interesting to delve into there, but jumping to where things do get interesting, speaking specifically about Junker Queen, one of the big changes that we made was to increase the healing received from her passive. We like this addition to her playstyle, but it makes Queen 2 survivable, so we'll be reducing the health she receives from Commanding Shout from 200 to 150 to compensate. We'll also be increasing the cost of her ult by a small amount, since she is getting it at a faster rate than before the mid-season changes. So, as of Season 5, Junker Queen will be getting some nerfs. This is not surprising to hear at all. She has been very strong ever since the mid-season patch for Season 4. But moving on to Lifeweaver. Lifeweaver is a really dynamic hero. Some of the plays that people have pulled off with him during Season 4 were pretty astonishing. However, he's not powerful enough to be a solid pick for most players. Previously, we stated that we would like there to be a reason to pick new heroes over others in the roster. This is still our goal for new heroes. We want them to bring something new to the table. However, at the moment, we are looking for the best way to bring Lifeweaver to a baseline. Once people are playing him more, we will get a cleaner read on the character. Players will either start utilizing the varied parts of his kit, or we can look into adding something else to it. In Season 5, there will be quite a few changes, mostly buffs, coming to Lifeweaver. We'll have specific details in the patch notes, but players can expect increases to his healing and damage output, a heal on life grip, and a slightly reduced hitbox, and some quality of life changes to pedal platform. So there you go, it sounds like we're not going to be getting an outright rework for Lifeweaver, at least not at the start of Season 5, but rather they're going to take it slow and just implement some subtle buffs for the hero, boosting his healing and damage, and making slight tweaks to his other abilities to sort of help him out. Honestly, this is probably the best approach for a hero that's in the situation that Lifeweaver is, where he's so bizarre and weird and bad that simply buffing him or reworking him might not be the best solution, so you gotta take a sort of slow approach and see how players actually respond to little incremental changes. So I think that's good for handling Lifeweaver. But moving on, next up they talk about snipers and one-shots. The community has also voiced concerns about the number of one-shots from both Widowmaker and Hanzo. We'd like to reduce the frequency of these in-game, as well as shore up some of the extreme sightlines in some of our maps. Widow's damage fall-off will change from 70 to 100 meters to 40 to 60 meters. The damage fall-off scaler will also increase from 30% to 50%. She will still have the ability to one-shot 200 health heroes at 50 meters or less, but further than that, it will no longer be a killing blow. Hanzo will receive a slight nerf to his damage so that he is no longer able to one-shot 250 health heroes. His sonic arrow will also be more recognizable by the enemy team. The intent here is to reduce his kills that feel like they come out of nowhere. We are constantly discussing the nature of one-shots in Overwatch 2 and whether they are healthy for the game in general. So there you go, everybody who hates Widowmaker and Hanzo, time to rejoice. Finally they're getting their one-shot potential nerfed, which honestly feels like it's been a long time coming at this point. Personally, as someone who plays a lot of tanks, I don't have a ton of issues with these sort of one-shots because most tanks can survive getting headshot by Widow and Hanzo, but for the rest of you players out there, I'm sure this is quite relieving to hear, unless you happen to main Widow or Hanzo, in which case, well, better get in those one-shots while you still can. Lastly though, and by far the most interesting, Aaron goes on to talk a bit about crowd control, and this is where stuff gets a little dicey sounding. Lastly, I'd like to talk a bit about crowd control abilities in game. When we launched Overwatch 2, we made some significant changes to our combat model. The biggest was the shift from 6v6 to 5v5. A part of that change was to remove most of the crowd control abilities from our damage and support heroes. Overall, we think that this is a positive change to the game. At times, the original game felt like you were in a pinball machine, but we have a lot of high mobility heroes in the roster, and a team can't always rely on their tank to take care of them. So we're softening our approach here. We don't want to return to the state the game was in previously, but we feel like there is room for more CC, especially soft CC, in our lineup. We'll be making changes to both Mei and Cassidy for Season 5 with this in mind. Mei's endothermic blaster will be updated. The primary fire will still slow targets, but will also build up to an effect that will apply a much larger slow for 1.5 seconds. For players of the original game, this will feel familiar to the way her old weapon worked. Cassidy's magnetic grenade will also get updated to deal less damage and apply a slow as well as a hindered effect, a new status effect that prevents movement abilities from being used. We're going to move slowly and deliberately here, and if we cross a line, we will pull back. Whew, okay, that's interesting. So first up, let's talk about Mei. She's almost getting her old freeze ability back, where she could freeze heroes on primary fire, although rather than a full freeze as it used to be, it's just a much stronger slow that sort of periodically activates in the same way you'd periodically freeze back in Overwatch 1. It only lasts a second and a half, which isn't terribly long, and presumably since it isn't a straight up freeze, you'll still be able to use abilities and shoot and do all those sorts of things, but you'll be effectively rooted, I assume, in terms of movement. Okay, this is going to be a very interesting one. I'm inclined to say this is not going to feel good to play against because it is crowd control, and historically, people don't like playing against crowd control, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. I'm antsy on this one, but not nearly as antsy as I am with the change to Cassidy. Magnetic Grenade deals less damage, but now slows and prevents the use of movement abilities. This is just a soft hack. This is a limited version of Sombra's hack. He uses the magnetic grenade, it sticks to you, and you lose your movement abilities. Now, we don't have an exact scope here just yet of which movement abilities are included, but we can pretty safely assume things like Tracer's Blink, Genji's Dash, maybe even Wrecking Ball's Ball Form, for all we know, are all going to be restricted by magnetic grenade for an unspecified duration. Yeah, this is very interesting. Once again, I'm inclined to say I won't like it, but to be fair, we haven't seen it in action just yet, so maybe it won't be as bad as it sounds, but it does seem pretty strong. I can imagine an enemy team that's running both Sombra and Cassidy just constantly hacking and hindering a specific player to effectively stun lock them in a sense. That probably wouldn't feel too good. I don't know. I'm very wary of this change in particular. It sounds scary. It does sound very scary. Maybe it won't be that bad. We'll have to see. Maybe there's some other changes to Cassidy that'll help balance it out. Maybe the range on Magnetic Grenade has been nerfed or something along those lines. Or maybe the duration's only going to be like 0.5 seconds or maybe even less. We'll see. We'll see. We don't have a ton of details. We don't have full patch notes just yet. But for the time being, this is interesting. I don't know how I feel about this. That, though, does end this pre-season developer update from Aaron Keller. It does mention that there will be changes for other heroes not listed here in this dev update, but it doesn't go into any details as for who those heroes are or what changes exactly they're getting. So yeah, from what we do have here, interesting changes, interesting decision to bring back crowd control for damage heroes, specifically with Mei and Cassidy, and I wonder how people are going to respond to this. My initial inclination is that people aren't going to like it because historically people don't like crowd control, but I don't know, maybe it'll actually bring some interesting changes to the game. It'll certainly be an intriguing change of pace, if nothing else, but I guess we'll see how it plays out. And on that note, thank you all so much for watching, and definitely let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments down below. Are you interested in seeing these additional crowd control elements for Mei and Cassidy? Or are you a bit worried about how they're going to impact the game? Either way, be sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, hit up that bell icon, and come join my Discord server to hang out and never miss any of my future Overwatch content. And special thanks to my YouTube channel members who help make these videos possible. If you'd like to join them to earn some cool rewards, then just hit that join button down below. Otherwise, this is Master Ian Gamer signing off, and until next time, have a great day.